The human scale, and as a close-up like this isn't a human scale at all. It's some other scale. In fact, I should be on the scale right at this moment to reduce some of this weight. But the movie, the documentary, The Human Scale, a New York premiere, Denmark, 77 minutes in English. And I have the director, Andreas Dalsgaard.
Dalsgaard.
Say it again?
Dalsgaard.
Did I say it all right?
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Close enough for Brooklyn. And welcome to the film festival.
Thank you.
And this movie is intriguing because, you know, being from New York and you go through Times Square, and every other place in the world has a comfortable area where people can congregate. And for a long time in New York City, especially down in the Times Square area, you took your life into your hands every time you went into what we thought was Times Square. But guys like you sort of sensitizing the rest of the world, that you really don't have to live that way. So maybe if you could expound on it and tell us a little bit about the film.
Well, the film is about a Danish architect who for 50 years has been writing books about how you can actually plan cities in a different way than we have been doing for the last 50 years. Mm-hmm. And what really happened in the 1950s was the invention of the private car. And the private car came in and really took over the way we planned our cities, the way we thought about living in cities. Mm-hmm. But this is a very new concept. Cities have existed for thousands of years before this, mm-hmm. and we planned them differently. But now we plan them with highways, we plan them with great expense. Right. And this just changed life completely. And basically what this Danish architect has been proposing is that we can actually still create cities where we are invited to walk, where we are invited to bike, and where the car doesn't have to be completely dominating life. And the thing that happens in a car, and if you take a city like LA, people oftentimes spend 2, 3, 4 hours in a car every day.
They get married in a car.
They do. And is this really the kind of life you want? Is this the kind of way you want to spend your time? Mm-hmm. And could we think differently? Mm-hmm. And New York is and Times Square is just an example of small things you can start to do to change the DNA of a city.
Well, the dynamic, also the fact that it provides a certain commerce that people enjoy, like when you go to Rome, Florence, and they have those century-old centers around the fountain where you can have a coffee or have a drink or have a conversation between you and your friend without having, a tractor-trailer horn blasting you or knocking you out. And also, it makes sense. So how do we kind of have a little bit of both? You're not anti-car, but how can we have a world in which both can, you can sort of get a little bit of both and enjoy being more human than mechanical?
Well, I think today we need the car. I have a car myself, so it's not that I'm anti-car. But I do recognize that my life is more fun when I choose to bike or when I walk. And I live in Copenhagen, where this is actually an option which is desirable because it's possible, it's safe. Mm-hmm. You're invited to do so. And my life is just more interesting like that. Mm-hmm. I feel that personally. It's also the issue of public space. Mm-hmm. And the thing with public space in many, many US cities is that this has become privatized. If you take US malls, they have what they call a speaker's corner, because by the US Constitution you have to have freedom of speech.
Right.
But this speaker's corner is tucked away down by the toilet.
Smaller and smaller, yeah, by the toilet. Usually.
Because you don't want people to run around in a shopping mall and have demonstrations, but you can do that in a free public space. But when more and more spaces become privatized, you actually lose this wildness of the public space.
Also in New York City, there's a real estate law that's called transferable air rights, which means that they could sell the air rights above an existing structure. Okay, so let's say St. Patrick's Cathedral, and they're not going to build above it, but the people that own the property can transfer those rights to the building that is usually next door to it, or they have various formulas wherever the thing is, so that they can build another 50 stories above that footprint. Okay, provided they put into that space a public space. So it has to be like the Citicorp Center or these other places that were built, have these public spaces which are like internal meeting places that are sort of that the public is allowed in without being charged to come in. It kind of helps, but it's not like the perfect solution. The better solution would be like the Times Square solution or other things like that. Also, we're kind of laid out as a grid, and people don't think in terms of grids. It's good for, you know, finding places. But you guys think, and the movie is elegant in the sense that it provides a visual solution to what these problems are all over the world.
Well, the thing about public space is that a successful public space is really difficult to create. And oftentimes you create public spaces that are done with a lot of money, but they're not successful. People don't go there. And the reason oftentimes for a successful public space is that it's integrated with the street. And if you think about traditional street life, you had the grocer on the corner, you had kids who could play there and the grocer would look out for them. You had old women sitting in the window looking out onto the street. You had eyes on the street creating safety. But those streets that you find maybe in East Village or in many, many older neighborhoods in New York were oftentimes lost in the suburb or in the high-rise area.
That's right.
And this is the street that really works because it has an integration of many different functions.
Well, when I grew up in Brooklyn, and you had a mom with a couple of kids in a baby carriage, and she was not known to you, wasn't a neighbor or anything. And if she asked, you know, my mother, would you mind watching my children in the carriage while I go in to shop? No question, they would watch and take care of the children until the mother comes out with her groceries. Today, that would never, ever happen on a variety of levels because people don't trust anybody. And it's unfortunate, but what it did, it sort of, even though a big place like Brooklyn, and what people have a concept of Brooklyn, and in those days there was a sense of neighborhood which was based upon how you interacted with the physical space around you. I have to ask you this question, because right now people are not only worried about the physical space, but they go to a place if it's Wi-Fi access, okay? So for instance, let's say Starbucks or, you know, Barnes & Nobles. We go in and you go to buy a book or look at the books you want to get, and you hang out at those places. I have two sons and they hang out at those places all the time. And they'll spend hours not only engaged maybe with the people around them, but primarily engaged with the Wi-Fi community at the public space. So what do you feel about that?
I don't have my phone with me right now, but the phone is a fantastic thing because I have Facebook there, I have Twitter, I have the ability to call my friends, and I have the ability to put my phone in my pocket and walk down the street and knock on a friend's door. Public space has become much more complex today. It happens on so many different, you can say, stages.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that one thing has become obsolete. It just means that we can actually do much more. And the funny thing with these kind of new media is that we've thought that people would get tucked away in their own homes and just sit and play computer. This doesn't happen. People become more social. There are more opportunities to meet. And we just need these places to meet also. So the desire to have those spaces have grown as well. Because right now, today, people don't just want to work and maybe go to the summer house in the weekend. They want a continuous, constant social life.
That's right. We're social beings primarily, and there's no better way of socializing than in a movie theater. The perfect way. And this movie, the Human Scale documentary, it's 77 minutes. We're fortunate to have it here. It's a New York premiere here at the Hamptons Film Festival, and go see it. We highly recommend it. If they want to get in contact with you, is there a website where they could see a clip or maybe find out more about you and the rest of the people that put this beautiful movie together?
Very easy. You go to thehumanscale.dk or just search The Human Scale online. It will lead you to the Facebook page, to the homepage, and you can always also go and look up the architects that we feature in this film. They're called Gehl architects, and they're doing interesting projects all around.
All over the world.
Yeah.
Excellent. And you have a distributor?
Yeah, Kimstim in New York.
Excellent, great distributor. Well, go see it, The Human Scale. We highly recommend it. And, you know, while you're in the theater, you can socialize. You can put the phone away, put the Wi-Fi, iPad away. Look, enjoy the movie, The Human Scale. You'll be glad you did. We highly recommend it. Thank you.